Hello everybody, this is Josh Placer from GameWisdom.com. This is a video spotlight of the game Oblitus. This is a 2D action-adventure roguelike that came out earlier in 2015. I picked it up thanks to a recent Humble sale, and I'm not really loving the idea. It's an interesting combination of the two. It feels more like a Metroidvania roguelike, but as we're going to see tonight, some questionable level design and structure does leave a lot to be desired. Let's get into it. You're basically exploring a mysterious world, as with most of these games. Once the game decides to load up, there you go. The world itself is set each time. So we can do a quick look at the moves. You have a roll, which you can combine with a jump. You can use your little stick as a stab, throw it, aim, you have a parry, and you can block your shield. So the idea is you have to explore this world. And there are of course a variety of enemies, as you'll be seeing as we play. Killing enemies will usually drop health, which fills your bar, which is that circle in the upper left. You can also light your torch on fire, that I believe does more damage. So instead of rushing at this guy, we'll try to finish him that way. Now you'll find things like this. There's a bunch of upgrades and such hidden throughout the world. Now despite the game being set each time, I believe none of your upgrades are persistent. So you'll have to return to their locations every time you play in order to find them again. That's one of the rubs I have about it. A good Metroidvania style game should keep those upgrades just so you have a sense of progression. Alright. Kill you. And this becomes very annoying, which you'll see in a few minutes, once we find some actual mechanic changing upgrades. Okay, so I believe we're back up here. The game looks nice, I will give it to that. Has a very, almost like a hand-drawn style. Oh, fell down. One of the problems with the backgrounds and the foregrounds is they look so blended in together, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes what you can actually interact with and what you can't. There you go. Get off me. Your spear will return to you in a few seconds. So right over here, should have our first little objective. The enemy seemed to be I'm right in the foot. So hopefully that's an actual upgrade down there. Alright, so we got a fire spear. And the game throws a lot of upgrades at you, but they don't really tell you what they do. Notice the level design definitely falls into the maze-like structure. Get off me. This water like slows you down when you get hit by it. There we go. Oh. Now, I don't know know if the actual upgrades have their positions changed. But as I said, the level designs are linear. That's where it came from. There is no map in the game either, so it's very easy to get lost a lot of times. Turn around like the exact wrong moment. Again, we're just trying to figure out where we're supposed to be going. Now I know that we need to find... Oh, there's something. So if we die, we lose all of our upgrades and we start right back at the beginning, which means having to go and find them all yet again. I'm not a fan of that kind of progression in these types of games, because it just removes any sense of progression. So let's see what we got. There we go, we found our first boss. I assume getting hit by that stuff is bad. Ow. Alright, and you're dead. So again, we restart. The game is just frozen, it's just loading up from the previous scene. There we go. So again, we've lost all upgrades, and we're back at square one. Which essentially means that the progression we just made is gone. Poke of Death. Again, we gotta find everything we got. But this becomes more and more annoying as you play later into the game when you start exploring the other areas. So one death means you lose everything. So let's head back up there and see if we can make it back to that boss. At least a game like Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, there is some carryover between plays, whether it's equipment or shortcuts and stuff like that. Now I know that there is something important down here. Let me see. Yeah, so again, upgrades are persistent across plays in their locations. Now I know I missed something the last time we just played, because I found a bit of story lore that I want to get back to if possible. Oh, now that, I know we didn't see that last time. So these are enchantments, which are basically the passive upgrades. They may unlock new moves too. Now, where are you? Came over here. Can we do a crazy roll? Oh, no. Again, the environment just had that sameness to them. It makes it very hard to know where you're going. Like, there's an artifact piece. It doesn't tell me what that actually does. Where is it? Because now I'm getting annoyed. I want to show off that little piece of lore. now I can't find where it's located. Pretty sure I'm gonna get stabbed there. Controls do feel pretty responsive. I like sort of like the slowness you have of being able to stab and the one hit of your spear. Aiming is a little to be desired, I think. Sometimes hard to properly measure. Oh, it's not there. Is it down over here? Right in the head. Nope, that's the gateway to the next area. No, this place is not procedurally generated, so where did that person go? Because of how maze-like, again, that this place is, it's very hard sometimes to remember where everything is. Where were you? Okay, so that's the area. Stab you. Okay, I think it could be here. Okay, so we went up there last time. Could be down here. Oh, nope, another one. And these scrolls are your only means of adding new moves. Wait, could this be it? Is that one right in the ankle? I assume there's something hidden there, but we don't have the means of getting to it. It just seems very innocuous where some of these items are. Oh, there's something else. Alright, so this is where we got to before. I have no idea where that woman got to that I found before we played this. So there's that. So they do seem to mix up some of the passive stuff. But then there's important upgrades that remain the same. Ow. Alright, well then I guess it's time to die at this guy again. I assume the glowing... There we go. Always bet on the glowing rock. Pretty sure I'm gonna die though. One more slam should do it. Ooh, that was actually close. Oh! You. Yeah. So hopefully this will actually unlock something permanent. But we'll see what happens. So this area is one I've actually came to in a previous play. You know, I like the sense, I like the kind of controls here, but I'm just not a fan of this progression model. When in doubt, the deadly poke at the ankles. I'm sure we're about to die, though. Yeah, those birds will probably be our death. Seem to get very little health back from killing enemies, too. Oh! Right off screen, too. Alright, so now that we died... I want to see if what we just unlocked remains. Because that'll be the biggest determining factor whether or not I give this game like any kind of thumbs up. But now I'm really annoyed that we can't find that one place I was at. So again, we gotta restart. Came down here. There's the health upgrade. Again, I'd rather have progression mechanics like health and new moves remain persistent across plays, because it gives you that sense of progression, something that we see in Metroidvania games, or even something like Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, where persistent elements help to keep you going, and more importantly, they give the player a reward for exploring. Now, because of how it's set up in Oblitus, I don't really want to keep playing the game, so every time I die, I lose everything that we found. Now, of course, at this point, I'm sure you remember this environment pretty well. Although I wonder if, because we got this, I got the story lore in a previous play, it doesn't show up anymore. Look at that. So the environment does change to some degree. Because you remember, we found the fire spear in the previous plays underground. And underneath that creature that we had to kill. Don't know what this artifact does, though. And why we have to keep picking it up. So what that tells me is that there's a good chance that the other upgrades we found aren't going to be in their same place. Let's see. And again, because how maze-like this place is, it's just very easy to forget where everything is. And that's not what you really want in a Metroidvania-style game. You want the world to have that sense of place to it, so the player can start making relations to where everything is and start making that mental map. So let's see. Yep, so as you can see, the enchant, all the items are randomly placed. Now let's see, will this boss still be there? I hope not. No, he's back. Oh. Yeah, again, what makes these Metroidvania games work, you need to have some kind of actual progression. Something to reward the player to keep playing. Having to repeat these bosses is just wasting time. Yeah. Alright, let's do it again. I think 2 more should do the trick. Ow. So he unlocks... And now we're back here. So as I keep playing it, again, I'm just not a fan of... You're going to give me exploration and means to explore. Don't take away my tools and my toys for doing that. Give me something to keep playing for. So I'm sure the next few eagles who dive bomb me are going to be what's going to kill me. Let's see. Maybe we can show off a little bit more. Oh. Trying to keep moving because I don't know when that bird's going to show up. Okay, so here's another cave. After this death, I'll go to the left and I'll show off what's different there. Again, the combat feels good. Motion is alright. The controls feel tight there. But there has to be more than just... Oh, I think that's my system getting slowed down. But there needs to be some sense of actual progression, I think, for a game to really hook me. Even Rogue Legacy, which lets you completely restart, does give you that ability to keep mechanics and upgrades across characters. That's the whole basis for the game. Apparently I just ran into a giant bear. Oh! And attack off screen and killed. That's Oblitus for you. So we are back at 1 again. Oh yeah, so the person disappears every time you kill a new boss. So the reason I go down is because I basically die. And again, I have no idea why I'm dying here. The game makes no attempt to explain it. But I'm dead. And we are back once again. So this time I'm going to go to the left. And you'll find that a lot of the areas do like warp around to each other. Again, all my upgrades are gone. And another reason why you want these mechanics to stay with you is that the base gameplay of Oblitus just isn't that engaging enough. I don't want to keep having to go back to 0 once you start getting like abilities like the downward strike Like, all these are new mechanics that could tie into growing the combat system. But when you lose everything and you're back to basing just on this simple mechanic, it limits what you can do with it. Because you obviously can't design elements that only work for the ground stomp or the other attack. I'm trying to talk while killing this thing. When the player doesn't have access to it at all times. So if I remember right, there should be something up here. But again, if upgrades and enchantments are random, it's kind of hard to tell where you're supposed to be going to find everything. I don't even know what that's supposed to be. Feels like the game's trying to go for that, like, Shadow of the Colossus, you know, one person in a mysterious world. But, again, at least Shadow of the Colossus changes how the game plays and gives you the means of subtly upgrading your character. Oop. Get away from me. Considering how fragile you are, it's very easy to be starting back at zero. Don't think he can get through it there. Good. So let's see, was he actually guarding anything important? Oh no. Let's get back up there. And again, after this death, I think we'll call it for this video spotlight. Came up here. There's that thing. Now I remember when I last played, this is where I actually got the downward strike and not light armor. So they do mix up where the upgrades are, which is a decent trick. But again, if you're dealing with a set environment like this, just feel kind of weird. Oh, and we're dead. Alright, well, I think that's going to do it for Oblitus. Again, interesting idea. But if you're trying to give me a Metroidvania world, then I need to have some kind of persistence between plays. Even if it is just simply killing a boss and he's dead for good. If you're trying to combine with roguelike elements, then it just becomes you're just repeatedly bashing your head against the wall trying to get that one perfect play. And when you die, again, you lose everything. Which works when you're dealing with a randomized or procedurally generated environment because you're always going to be given something new, something to keep you guessing. When the world itself is set every time, then you're just in basically Groundhog Day over and over again. But I think that's going to do for this play, so I'm not going to recommend this game. There are just a lot of roguelikes that handle progression or randomly generated designs better, such as Rogue Legacy, Dungeons of Dreadmore, Binding of Isaac, of course. For this game, I hope this gives you a good enough idea of whether you would like it or not. And other than that, we're going to wrap it up here. So thanks so much for tuning in to this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Check out game-wisdom.com for posts and podcasts related to the game design industry. You can find me on Patreon under Game Wisdom, and any donations would be greatly appreciated. And be sure to subscribe both on Twitch and Twitter under GW Bicer to get the latest updates for posts, streamings, podcasts, and more. That's going to do it for this play. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.